Well, it's a new mayor for the city of Johannesburg and a new speaker in the city council. Mayor Dada Morero was officially sworn in this morning, and Cope's Colleen Makhubela was installed just days ago. Given the political machinations, will there be less chaos, more order and effective service delivery for the residents of the city, especially given the changing alliances and high-stakes political gambling seen during the motion of no confidence in former Mayor Mpho Phalaatse? Joburg Council Speaker Colleen Makhubela is with me now. Good evening to you and welcome. You are fresh in the seat, but you presided over fireworks yesterday with the no confidence motion. How are you feeling about your role and your ability to create and keep order in the council?
Good evening, Imran, and thank you so much for having me here. I've presided also over council. Before that was Karma yesterday. Of course, it's expected whenever one party must hand over power, they will not do it willingly. They are not going to put it on a plate for you. You have to fight for it. So it was a council sitting that was expected to be heated. And we're not surprised, of course, by the behavior of the DA, the same way the ANC was behaving when they were taken out of power. But I'm glad that I could maintain, the House moving, and we managed to reach our conclusions effectively. And after they walked out, of course, it was more peaceful than how we started, with the DA being rowdy and creating chaos, wanting to collapse council itself so that we don't get to the motions.
Well, let's talk about it, similarly, but a little more broadly. When you reflect on the chaos during that motion of no confidence, how would you rate the order, but more deeply the functionality of this council you are presiding over?
If you remember how we were elected as the multi-party coalition, I think it was more chaos than that. You remember there were people that were physically assaulted, and we had to adjourn council. It was more chaotic than what you saw yesterday. And it's a nature of how power is handed over in councils. I'm also starting to understand that people that are about to lose power will do everything in their power to make sure that the council proceedings do not take place. They want to be rowdy, they want to disrupt, they want to collapse even the quorum of council itself. But it's up to us to continue with the business of the day. And I've learned that also as I've watched different councils, and I've watched even the previous speaker, Vasco da Gama, how we push through the noise and we make sure that we achieve, even security sometimes has to come in to make sure that we maintain order. I guess in our democracy, the big question is this: how do we enable our democracy to have a provision for how people hand over power without wanting to create disruptions, disorder, and collapse quorum and collapse council? I think that has been happening throughout the country. We don't have a provision in law and constitutionally on how people must behave and to be held accountable if they engage in those behaviors during a process of motions that potentially sees them, going into the opposition benches. That has to be looked into.
And given that, as you say, that there's, too much leeway for a lack of accountability and need perhaps to refine the rules of engagement in council, because what we're seeing on the outside is residents who only ask that the council do what it's there for, focus on the principal execution or discharge of duty, which is to bring services, to its citizens. We seem to be focused more on, political survival inside the chamber. And you're witnessing this, as you say, over months and a period of time where this seems to be the norm. From our vantage point as outsiders and residents, it's embarrassing. Your
observation, it actually echoes why we are here, why we had to take the power, because the focus has to be on the residents. And that's what we're fighting for with the multi-party coalition, to say it's not about your positions, your economic interdependence, wanting to take the role of councillors and put it somewhere in a boardroom where the Freedom Front, DA, and all their leaders sit somewhere and decide for the mayor, decide for the councillors what they do in council. And hence we could never even implement any meaningful programs. We have not been able to implement any services because those things we're waiting for them to be coming from the multi-party, and their friends must sit somewhere in the boardroom and tell us. And if you The mayor doesn't get instructions, she's not able to move. So hence we removed that whole element of taking the councillor's role and putting them somewhere in some coalition agreement. Now you will see how council is going to function. Now that we've got the right people that want to work, a mayor that has promised to work with councillors in their role in leading council and facilitating service delivery. Now that we've got a coalition that wants to focus on service delivery, and all of us will have a structure where we sit together to discuss, debate issues, and even with the broader councillors, not to be getting instructions and that must come from somewhere and we implement. Now you will see how council ought to operate to deliver services.
Do you really think that the knives have been put away?
I didn't get that. Please repeat your question.
Do you really think that the knives, figuratively speaking, have been put away?
By who?
By those who don't want to see the success of the multi-party coalition. We've seen the changing fortunes, depending on which mayor is in power. This focus, as you say, the council is now ready to work. Do you think that those who have, alternative motives, as you say, who get their orders from elsewhere, are going to put the knives away?
I don't know. It's really not my business what they do. My business now is to focus on what are we going to do to deliver services, how are we going to hold the mayor accountable. What I'm waiting for now in the legislature is the new mayor and his MMCs, when they announce, and the executives to sit down, craft plans of how they're going to fix the mess of the past 10 months, how they're going to prioritize the burning issues of our residents. And then my role is to focus on how to hold them accountable. And there are knives or no knives, I'm really not interested in that. That time is over. Now we are in a period of working.
All right, so given, as you say, in a period of working, this is the metro, which is the largest single contributor to the national GDP. Service delivery must be paramount so that we can focus on being the economic powerhouse across the country. What is the first order of business? We heard Dada Morero talk about correcting the finances and bringing that all up into alignment and into accountability. What can residents of Johannesburg expect to be the first order of concrete and effective business that this council comes up with?
I'm not going to take the mayor's job. It's the mayor and the MMCs and the officials to come up with priorities and first order of business. They present that plan to council and we approved it. My order of business will be, once the plan comes, is to put in place mechanisms to monitor that, oversee that, and ensure that there are consequence management plans in place if they don't deliver. So the mayor, in his capacity now, must, as a matter of agency, appoint his cabinet, and they must sit down with everybody, the department, and engage communities, come up with concrete plans and smart and implementable plans, and with quick wins that are going to ensure that we turn around the city of Joburg. My job will then be to oversee that with my team in legislature.
So we got a hint about his priorities. Yesterday, of course, he was sworn in. Today, we're referring to the mayor. When you talk about this, sort of correcting the mess, what other factors are you referring to?
In my capacity, we've seen that there's been a lot of concealed information that did not find its way to the council agenda. And you've seen that in the past 2 days. Once I was sworn in and I was briefed by our legal office and all the staff that are in the legislature, that the case in point, the motion of the mayor that was tackled with yesterday, it was supposed to have come to the council of the 31st, but the previous speaker concealed that information, and together with other agent reports that we had hoped to bring tomorrow, it never brought them to the attention of councillors. And so I'm correcting in terms of legislature what should be done as a matter of priority. And the mayor and the executives must go and look at what they need to correct, because we can't dictate to them what to do. But whatever they pronounce, we have a right to hold them accountable. And if they don't deliver on that, it's legislature that must once again make sure that there's changes in leadership that must function, and the new leaders that come in must be able to make plans, live up to it. Whatever promises they make to the residents, they must deliver on them.
Thank you very much for talking to us, Joburg Council Speaker Colleen Makhubela.